What's going on? If you're live, thanks for joining me. If you're watching this on the replay, um, enjoy it. Be able to rewind and go back and forth as much as you want. Today, we're going to learn 4 simple things that you can do that you need to master to be able to take your scales and make them sound like a cool guitar solo. 4 simple things. So stick around. And one of them is really going to kind of shock you. All right. That you wouldn't have thought of, but we're definitely going to need to incorporate to get where you want to be. All right. So, in the meantime, while I'm getting this going here, drop me a comment and let me know where you're watching from and just say hi. So, welcome. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play you the solo and we're going to go through this and I will explain kind of what I'm doing and then we'll get to all 4 things that you need to know. But first thing, hopefully this sounds all right. And we're going to go through it. So this is the solo that we're going to learn, and it's going to incorporate the 4 things that you have to know to be able to start taking scales and making them sound like real guitar solos. All right. So here we go. All right, so right there, all I did was take pattern 1 of the E minor pentatonic scale, which you guys already know. All right, if you don't know it, download my 5 pentatonic patterns PDF. That link will be pinned to the top once this is all over with. So that scale is simply this. It's one everybody learns, right? So you may as well learn it too. If you're here, you probably already know it. 12, 15, 12, 14, all the way up to the second string, 12, 15, 12, 15. Now, the first thing you have to know that I did in this little guitar solo, this is 12 bar blues, was I incorporated a bend right out of the gate and I held it. So I went. So the first technique is taking a note in your scale and bending it up a whole step. In this case, I bent a whole step. You could do a half step depending on what you're doing. So the first part of the solo, in the first technique, which you saw me incorporate and heard me incorporate multiple times on this, was the bend. Okay. So bending, first thing. So the bend can do so much. It makes it sound like the voice. We're trying to imitate the human voice when we play a guitar solo. All right. When we play a guitar solo, we're not just playing scale. The problem is everybody's like, how do I make my scales sound like a guitar solo or sound musical? Well, this is the first step. Bending. Technique 1. I did a full step bend on the 15th fret second string. So I went, and then I just played a piece of the scale. So 12 and a full step bend, I should explain because it's part of the technique, means that you're going to take the 15th fret and you're going to make it sound like the 17th fret. That's the full step in music. So you're going to go, and then I'm going to go 12 on the first string, 15, 12 on the second string. And then I did a slide. Okay. So now we're on to the second technique that you have to be able to master to make your scales sound like guitar solos and to make them sound good. All right. Make it sound musical. Really, that's the point. All right. So we're going 15 to 14 on the third string here. All right. That's your blue note. And we're going real quick. All right. So 12, 15, 12, 15, 14. Quick slide to 14. And then a little bend at the 12th fret third string. Just like this. And then to the 14th fret, which is our E, our tonic, or our root, okay, on the 4th string. So I'll play that much again. There's your bend. Technique 1 you have to master. And you got to be able to hold that bend up because the blues and rock, you got to be able to hold it like you're wailing, right? So, and I'm using my middle finger to guide that and hold that bend because it's kind of hard. And then I'm going 12, 15, 12, 15, 14, 12 with the slide, which is our technique 2. We'll talk more about that in a second. And then 12th fret third string, there's a little quarter step bend. Back to technique 1, onto the 14th fret fourth string. And that's our tonic or our E for our E blues, since that's what key we're in, all right? So So there's that first part right there, okay? So bending was our first technique. You can practice that many different ways, all right? You can practice it by learning this guitar solo or just other guitar solos, right? Or little lead lines. One of the best things you can do is just grab a note within your scale and see if you can bend it up to a pitch, right? So I'm trying to bend this 14th fret third string up to the sound like the B on the 16th fret of the third string, just like that. So you can practice your bends in all sorts of ways. A lot of times I'll tend to bend with my ring finger. It's really important to have a finger that you feel most comfortable with. You can bend with your middle finger as well, but my ring finger just feels the most powerful. And my middle finger is almost always guiding that. Technique one. Second technique that you saw me incorporate, the fourth or the bend or the slide, sorry, on the third string. All right. So sliding, you've got to be able to slide. So now the second part of that solo that I played was this. So you can slide from 12 to 14. All right. All right. There's two things you can do here. So you can slide 12 to 14 on the fourth string. And then I played the 12th fret on the third and the second string with my index barring. There's a bend back to that first technique and then back to the tonic. And then the second time, so there's a slide there. All right. So back to technique two, which was slides. You can practice slides all over the place. Instead of playing your scale like this, slide into it. It sounds cool. You have to get kind of accurate with it, but you could go backwards too. And try it with different fingers. Right? Or go up with your index. Okay. So just to recap, we had bends and slides. So the solo up to that point, there's your slide. There's your tonic. And then the next part, slide 12 to 14. And so I went 12, slide to 14 on the fourth string. And then I 12th fret on the third and second. And then the 14th fret here. And then the second time I did that, if you go back and you watch this again, I hammered on. So that brings us to technique three, okay? Technique three is a hammer on. This is another way you can make your scale sound way, way, way more musical, okay? So you're going to hammer on 12 to 14. And that just simply means I'm going to play the 12th fret on the fourth string, and my ring finger in this case is going to hammer on. I'm not plucking that note. I'm just hitting it, all right? And I've got a little vibrato in there. There's a bonus technique that you need to learn, but I'm not covering it today. 12 to 14, and I'm playing this note, and I'm letting my ring finger hammer onto that note on that 14th fret third string. And when I'm doing that, I'm imagining a rubber band holding back my ring finger, and it slips off, and then my ring finger hits that 14th fret. All right, so and then we come back to that 14th fret fourth string. So the solo up to that point, there's our first technique, second technique, first technique, and then slide, second technique, and then hammer on, third technique, 12 to 14, and then we land on that 14th fret fourth string, a little vibrato, bonus technique. I'm using my middle finger there, but you can use whichever you like. All right. So now that brings us, we're still on technique three, which is our slides. Okay. I'm sorry. Technique two, which is our slides for this next part. So we're going sliding 12 to 14 on the fifth string, just like this. All right. And that's bringing us to over our 5 chord, which is our B in that key. So it goes like, all right. And then you've got another bend. Okay. So that brings us to the next part of the thing. So we're back to our bend technique, which is the first technique that we're working on. All right. So we're doing a bend on the second string, 15th fret. And then I go 12 on the first string, 15 on the first string again, but I do another bend. Okay. So it's, and then I come back down to that 15th fret first string, and then I do back to almost our second lick. So 15, 12, and then technique 2, slide 15 to 14, 12, and then 14. All right. Then you're to our final technique here. All right. So we're going to continue on the slide technique first. So 12 to 14. All right. And then 12 and 12 here. So 12 to 14 on the 5th. And then I'm going to do 12 to 14 again. A little bend. And then I land on that 14th fret 4th string. Okay. So all I'm doing is incorporating these ideas, and I'm literally staying in pentatonic box 1. All right. So, all right. And then the last part is a bend on the 3rd string, 14th fret, and then 12th fret, 2nd string, and we're ending with another bend, 15th fret, 2nd string. I kind of double that up in the solo. So the whole solo again. Okay, I almost left it out. The most important technique that you didn't think of, and I saved it for last on purpose, is phrasing. All right. You might have thought of it, but phrasing is something that beginner guitar players and people starting to learn play guitar completely leave out because they're not quite sure how to put the finger on it or how to define it. Okay. So, phrasing is like when you start and stop your notes. Okay. So, like, basically, especially for blues, playing less equals more. You can do way less and it still sounds like an insanely good guitar solo. All right. And it all has to do with how you phrase your notes. So now, or how you phrase your parts. So check this out. If I start the solo again and I go, I held it. That was one whole phrase right there. So that, and then I let it sit for a second, right? Let it breathe. Let the music breathe. I'll do it again. Let it breathe. And then let it breathe again. There was another phrase. There's a second phrase or third phrase. A little bit there. A little bit there. So you can see it's all about playing a little idea, letting it sit for a second, letting it breathe, let the music breathe, and then come back in with another idea. This is something that's difficult to learn, but if you continue to do it, like if you learn this entire solo, if you continue to do this type of thing, you're going to start understanding the phrasing from your popular guitar players that you like, how blues get, you'll start to understand just how phrasing works in general. It all has to do with singing, right? You can't continuously sing. Now, shred guitar players can continuously shred, but no one sings like that. So when you're playing the blues and you're playing like classic rock and like soulful music, all those guitar solos, like John Mayer, all those guys, all those solos have room to breathe, right? So I'll do that again. So phrasing, the key one you didn't think about. Let it breathe. Let it breathe. I'm trying to make it sound like a voice. 2, 3. So it's all about letting notes ring out, playing an idea and letting it sit. That way you don't have to continually come up with new ideas. It's not necessary. Yeah, of course, we want to have a million different ideas and like be able to really be able to play, right? But start with simple things, right? These simple things. So let's recap. Bends, slides, almost sounds like a harmonica. Hammer-ons, happens all the time, right? You got to get the hammer-ons down. And then phrasing, our last one and biggest one was phrasing. Okay. So you've got to get the phrasing down. So if you get the phrasing, you're going to be well on your way, even with a simple 12 bar blues and a simple pattern 1. All that was with pattern 1. And it was definitely, a guitar solo that you could show up to a jam and play, and the guys there would be like, right, dude, you got something going on, right? That's all we're looking for. There's ways you can take a simple scale and make it sound good. All right, make it sound musical and make it sound like a guitar solo, which is what you guys are all trying to do. All right. So that is it for today. Once this is done, it'll be up here forever and ever. I'm gonna go back through and edit out some of my mistakes. But you guys have a great day, and I will see you next week.